I'd like to call the meeting of the Historic District Commission for Wednesday, April 9th to order at 6 o'clock sharp. I am Ashley Meyer. Would you guys like to introduce yourself?
Lorelei Dorr.
Michelle Widener-Hill.
Marianne Lawrence.
Thank you. And next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for March 12th. Has everyone had a chance to look them over? And are there any corrections?
Motion to approve.
Is there support?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, any public comment on non-agenda items? Is there anyone who would like to speak on non-agenda items? Hearing none, we'll move on down the list to new business. HDC, case HDC 25-07, 2275 Carroll Road. Is there a representative here? Can you step up to the microphone and on the sheet there? And then just give us a rundown of what you're applying for and
I assume you've seen the pictures, right? So the fascia around the top of the house has started to deteriorate, and we have made several attempts to fix that. A piece here, a piece there. Last year when the painter did some work on it, he said, you need to do this wholesale. And so what we need to do is replace the fascia around the top of the house, and it'll be done, the wood, the 2x6s will be wood, and then the flat pieces will be a synthetic version of it. In addition to that, we added a new air conditioning unit upstairs, and the outside unit is quite large, and so my wife wants to put around it exactly the same thing we have around the chimneys around the house. So that's the work that we're planning to do. And when it's all done, it will look just like it looks now. It will just not be falling apart.
well, I wanted to ask you, and maybe I didn't quite understand, but I was reading the contractor's description here, and they were talking about the fascia and using the smooth side, my guess is this way, and then the wood grain side on the top boards, and I wasn't sure what that was supposed to mean.
See, there's two boards. There's a big wooden board comes here, and then there's a board that goes across the top and one that goes across the front. So, and then there's a bullnose around the top as well.
I think he was calling that half round in his
Right,
description.
that's the half round piece.
Yep.
What he's going to do with that is he's going to retain as much of the half round as he can and replace the rest of it with new half round wood.
Right,
We couldn't find a,
but oh, okay, yeah, I kind of thought that might be the case. But I guess when he refers to the top boards, you're saying that there's a small piece on the top?
so the wood piece comes out. Let's see if there's a picture that shows that
Yep.
better. Probably if you look at
I see, yeah, the overhang, yep.
you'll see there's a board across the top and a board in the front.
I see, so it's not visible from the ground. You can't even see it, really. So that makes sense, then he's trying to keep it smooth at the bottom where you would see it.
Right.
That makes sense.
And then he's putting aluminum caps on the wood across the top so the water doesn't get into them.
That's on the wall, right? On the side wall of your house?
Those are the wood pieces that come out from here. All of those wood pieces along the edges.
And then I was curious about the surround for the the air conditioning unit, it says it's 4 feet. Is that as small as it can be? That seems huge.
Well, it's a quite sizable unit that was put. It's an air conditioning heating unit. These are because there's no ductwork upstairs, so these are wall units that are in each room. And so when we replaced it with a new heating air conditioning combo in the bedroom, we were not aware that the unit on the roof would be quite as large. There's a couple of others that have been surrounded that are a little lower on the roof. And so the idea is to make the round look just like a chimney would. The chimneys on the end have the same.
So will I assume that's aluminum that's on there now.
It's aluminum, probably.
Yeah, so are you replicating, what appears to be vertical boards? I mean, I realize it's aluminum, but, yeah, okay.
So the goal is to make it look as much like the rest of it. And it doesn't bother me nearly as much as it bothers my wife.
I kind of suspected that might be true.
And it only happens when you're away from the building can you see it. If you're close, you don't really notice it. I don't think anybody else in the community is saying, hey, look at that air conditioning.
I mean, it kind of fades into the tree line there, but,
Right.
But I get it. My mom would be exactly the same way.
Probably. And I think that's original. There's been some work done on the chimney too, but it was replaced with like for like. Everyone who's worked on the house has worked really hard to make sure that what we do to the house reflects the character of the house.
Oh, it's a great house. I remember you guys were on the tour of homes or something
Yeah, we were
quite a few years back.
second year we were in the house. The Historical Society got into it. John Meyer never felt that the house was finished. From our perspective, it was perfectly finished. And
It's a
now I
beautiful.
get to do the repair work that John didn't get to do.
Well, it's a beautiful home and a great example of that style. We don't have a lot of those styles in
have
Bay
another
City,
one like
so it's amazing. It's a great house. When I saw this come, I'm like, ooh, I love this house.
We like the house too. We've been there almost 20 years. So.
Oh, so I noticed that you said that he couldn't find a matching alternative for your trim. So are you going to just salvage and then piece in a new, or are you going to do all new?
He's going to salvage and get other bullnose round to replace the piece he can't salvage.
But you're going to keep the old?
We're going to
Good,
keep it exactly as it is.
cool.
The contractor we've hired is used by the Alden Dow Foundation, and that's where we got his name from. Craig McDonald is the one who recommended. Actually, Craig gave me the entire list of contractors that they use. So when this came up, I thought he was the right guy. So he's worked for Alden B. Dow Foundation, and I figured that was good enough for me.
Yeah, the one thing I didn't see him mention in his description here, that I'm sure he probably planned on it but didn't see that it was relevant in here, but I would just definitely keep an eye on it, is he was talking about when they were building the surround on the air conditioning unit, especially with a flat roof, I'd make sure he didn't mention it again, he probably planned on doing it, but just sealing in all that hardware so you don't get water. I just noticed it in there and I was like.
Once he is done, then Brett Lulis will come over and look at my roof, so.
Does anyone have any other questions, comments? Is there a motion to open for public comment?
Yeah, just a motion and a second for opening for public comment, and then we'll ask for public comment and we can close that. Yes, yeah.
A motion to open the floor for public comment.
Support.
We are open to public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak about this particular project? Hearing none, is there a motion to close public comment?
Motion to close public comment.
Support.
All right, we are closed for public comment. And is there a motion for the project? If there's no other comments, questions, concerns, is there a motion?
I move that the Historic District Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness for the work described and depicted by the work review application for case HDC 25-07. The applicant has demonstrated the work will comply with U.S. Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation 1 through 6, 9, and 10, as well as Section 6411C of the city's Historic Preservation District regulations.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. And you can follow up with Mr. Dyer on moving forward with any other steps.
Nothing right now. It'd just be if you need to pull a building permit with the building department, you'll reach out to them. Yes.
So I can call the contractor and say, go.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you and good luck. All right, moving on down the agenda is HDC 25-08, 513 North Grant Street. Do we have a representative for that property? Hi, can you here to sign in and then just give us a little rundown of what you are planning to do?
The work was already completed. I apologize for that. I didn't need a building permit, so I did not think that it had to be put in front. What we did was we replaced deck boards on the porch because they were rotted and curled. Replaced the stair treads, placed a handrail on the one side for insurance purposes for safety. And was there a fourth item, Tony, on this one?
The skirting, sorry, I was
skirting
written down.
rails, yeah. And you can see this is one of two properties sitting side by side that are both craftsman style. And you can see, I brought in some extra pictures to show of the house next door. They haven't replaced any of the boards, and it looks much like ours did to start with. And then I brought in pictures of the house. The third one is the one across the road, and the other 5 are all houses within 1.5 blocks. To show what the skirting looks like, and how poorly the lattice looks on some of those. So really, we just want the house to look nice. I mean, with rotting deck boards that are curled up, it doesn't look nice. Unfortunately, this one isn't on Center Avenue. It's, in the part of the historic district that is not quite the same standards.
Do you know what the skirting and the handrail were originally?
Yep, you have pictures of them actually in your packet. Tony provided those.
There weren't, okay, so the handrail was metal and then there was no
Yeah.
skirting?
The metal handrail is still on the one side. We added a handrail to the other side because the steps are probably close to 7 foot long on the front of those, 6 to 7 foot long. The handrails, the term just slipped out of the rails around the porch were all there. We didn't replace any of that. We didn't replace any of the substructure. We replaced the deck boards, and then we got into a discussion on if we were to replace 5 deck boards, then we don't need a permit, but if we replace more, then they want us to. And there's nowhere on the Bay City site that says that. So my interpretation of the state code, it says that you can replace the boards as long as you don't replace the structure without a permit. So that's why we went ahead and did the work.
As a note, the building official has indicated that the deck boards, the stairs, treads, risers, and the railing would require building permitting after this.
The risers were not replaced, just the treads were.
Right, so
Risers.
I'm just passing that along. I'm not a building official, but after this, there will be a building permit required.
Okay.
So just as a
Yep,
note. I know.
I'll meet with them and talk to them about that and get that figured
Sure.
out.
So, yeah, I think the question for us, because or at least my question, it looks like, your railing is the same, it looks like there wasn't, or at least as far as back as we can, much of a railing system on the stairs. And it looks like you built the stairs pretty close to identically as they were.
We didn't build them, we put new stair treads on.
You didn't do the stringers and
The
stuff?
risers, so they
Oh,
look
okay.
nice, which we can't paint the 5/4 board for a year after it's put in because it's treated. So we're not opposed to if you wanted to make the motion contingent, on the skirting being painted and we can do a nice grade and match in there. We plan on doing that anyway, so that's not a problem at all.
Yeah, painting, we don't really have purview over. Obviously, for your own, and for property maintenance standpoint, you would have to have it sealed anyway.
The Historic District has required treated lumber to be painted. We don't place colors, but treated lumber has been conditioned upon painting.
Yeah, that's part of property maintenance code anyway, though, isn't it?
No, I'm saying that when treated lumber has been used, there's been conditions placed upon painting it with, like to Mr. Waterman's point, after the treated lumber is off-gassed.
6 months or whatever.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, we can.
And we put the skirting around because if you look at the house next door, the pictures of it, there's junk and stuff underneath of it, and tenants have a habit of, they'll stick their lawnmower, their bicycles, their kids' toys, their garbage, and so I'd rather skirt the deck and make it where it's not accessible than people drive by and see all of that stuff sitting underneath there as you.
It also keeps out wildlife. Yeah, I mean, we don't really have much of a reference, as far as I can tell, on the style of the skirting originally, because it looks like even in 2011, there was none. So as far as the style, I mean, my concern is that it's not really installed. Normally, it's not installed typically over the front of it, there's a board that runs across the top. It's normally kind of.
You want a trim board across the top?
Yeah, basically.
We can cut a
That's the
2x2 and put a trim board across the top. That's not a problem. I mean, if you want to place that as a stipulation, we're good with that. And the problem we have with lattice is, as you can see on that one picture I passed around, lattice, if you use the wood lattice, it gets broken. It looks horrible. It's hard to keep stain or paint on. If you use the vinyl, the leaves blow between it, and you end up, after each tenant, which the tenants aren't going to make sure it's kept clean. So after tenants, then you end up having to pull that off, or else you have to go over there and try to clean that out, or they take a piece off and put stuff underneath there.
Yeah, what I've done in the past, also because I think it looks better, but what I've done with the lattice is to put like a 6-inch board across the bottom, which keeps out the junk. And I think it looks better. I think it frames it nicely too. But that's what I've done as a solution to that, because I totally agree. But yeah, I mean, even water perspective though, having those boards like that, you might want to tuck them underneath, just because the water on those ends, it's going to rot out real
I
quick.
don't know if you can see it well in that picture or not. It isn't easy to tuck underneath because they didn't leave, there isn't a lot of overhang there because we didn't want to extend the boards past the railing. The railing is right at the edge of the porch, so the boards come right to there. But we can definitely put something in there to do that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as our purposes, just anything across the top to make it look, but yeah, you could even probably, if you wanted to, just put a strip of, like weather stripping over the top or something, just because those ends are going to get water,
Or even bend we can put a piece of metal underneath the board that we put across there, so that it keeps it watertight.
Is there a motion to open public comment?
I move to open public comment.
Is there support?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment is open. Do we have anybody who would like to speak on this case? Hearing none, is there a motion to close public comment?
I move to close public comment.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries, sorry. Is there any other comments, questions, concerns?
I move that the Historic District Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness for the work described and depicted by the work review application for case HDC 25-08. The applicant has demonstrated the work will comply with U.S. Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation 1, 2, 6, and 9, as well as Section 64-11C of the city's Historic Preservation District regulations, with some additional caveats that you ensure that the handrail is in compliance with building code requirements, and you will add some trim to the skirting.
And did you want to add the stipulation that the wood would eventually be painted?
Yes, in compliance with code, the wood will be painted, the treated wood.
Is there support?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and you can follow up with Mr. Dyer about next steps. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good.
Moving on down the line, HDC case 25-09, 502 North Jackson Street. Do we have a representative here? Hi.
Thank you.
If you could state your name, make sure to sign in, and then give us a little rundown of your project.
Yeah, hello, I'm Rachel Gale. I want to first thank Tony for walking me through this process. With this property, it's a four-unit rental property my husband and I purchased in 2021, and he conveniently had a staff meeting today, so he's not here.
Scale, would you like to sit?
No, I appreciate it.
Okay,
But
just wanted to make sure.
I'm good, thank you, Tony. So with this four-unit property, as you have the pictures there, before we did the work on the porches, we didn't realize we needed the Historic District approval. It's across from the Good Samaritan Rescue Mission on the corner of Jackson and McKinley, so I apologize coming on the back end. The porches previously were the just prefabbed concrete slab porches. They'd been there for quite some time. The railings were wrought iron. A couple were wrought iron, a couple were old treated lumber that was rotting. So the concrete slabs are still there because I couldn't find anybody to remove them. So over top of those, we've put the new porches. As you could see, we included the materials list that I believe you have, but we used new composite boards, vinyl stoops over the old concrete bases, pressure treated lumber, because we just find that lasts a lot better than treated lumber. We'd rather have a one and done and have it last for a long period of time. As far as the railings and posts, we also used treated lumber framing with the white vinyl railings and the square box posts with caps. At this time, there is no lattice or skirting around the sides, but again, underneath is that concrete. So there's really nothing that can get in and out. But we are open to any recommendations if you'd like that to look more complete on the sides. But that's in essence. There was 3 of the porches that had to be redone. I do believe there was a question in regards to the overhang of the front porch on Jackson. I did go and measure it, and I do have a photo of that measurement. It measured, not including the step, at 52 inches. So I do believe that's in compliance with.
If you could, a little bit closer to the mic, sorry. Or you can pull the microphone as far as you need to.
I'm
Sorry.
getting good on this.
Our administrative assistant always appreciates.
Sure.
You can hear it on the
Sure.
recording. Yes, as long as it's the 5 foot, no more than 5 foot extension from the front of the home for a stoop, for an uncovered stoop. So that's just a zoning requirement we always check on as part of the.
And that did measure at 52 inches. If you'd like me to forward you that photo, so that you can include that in the documentation that you have, I'm happy to provide that.
Absolutely, thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
Similar question, on the photo, or I'm sorry, I'm keeping, keeping all the doors straight is tricky. I believe.
Yes, it is.
It's the one that has both
Get that open.
in the same spot. Those both, the new porch and the old porch.
Be the northeast rear deck. Yeah, the rear deck.
know what page?
Anyway,
Page-
sorry,
Page
was-
13, it looks like.
Yeah. Was the footprint of the new porch the same as the old porch?
Yes.
Okay, I ask because, and maybe it's just the pictures or my eyeballs, but it looks like there's not quite as much space for that.
I do, so let me retract that statement. So the back porch, the steps are wider and they come out a little bit further than they did before, because in order to make that work, that was what had to be done. So you're correct in that it does come out further than it did before.
And looking at that northeast deck again, you're keeping the railing on the one side?
Are you referencing the wrought iron railing or the?
Right, yep. On the northeast deck, the wrought iron railing, so you're leaving that one?
Yes, that one was not changed. That was the way that one looked before. And part of this was prompted as part of the rental inspection. So we had worked with code enforcement in that regard and thought we had done everything we were supposed to. And then we got the letter regarding the historic district and I went, shoot, we missed a spot. So to answer your question, that's been untouched and we weren't planning on doing anything. That concrete's all still intact and the railing is all still sturdy. And it passed code enforcement's inspection, so we didn't even consider it with the other work that was being done.
Thank you.
Yeah, frankly, you'd be kind of in a pickle taking it off because how you would use the same similar kind of structure, you'd wind up running right into it.
Yeah, and it's a work in progress. We purchased this in 2021, and we've done a lot of improvements internally. We really focus on buying these old properties. We live in this community. We've raised 5 kids in this community. We pay taxes in this community, and I feel like that's something that's important, in terms of being landlords locally. Like, we want to improve and make things better and make them habitable and nice for people that are renting in our community, because I'm also a social worker, and I know there's a need for that, so it kind of goes hand in hand, but I guess going back to the porches, that was where we left off with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, and, it's not relevant at the moment, but there might be some issue with having the steps. Can steps still go right up to the door like that if you're replacing them?
So the ones that remained, the wrought iron one with the cement, those weren't.
Right, if they did in the future want to come back and
Right,
replace
then we'd be
those because they were
talking, yeah.
breaking down or
But
whatever.
as they stand right now, with them being right up there, that's as long as they're secure from to the applicant's point about from a rental inspection standpoint, even though they're not under the current code compliant because they don't have a landing that comes out to the adequate depth from the building, they're compliant from the standpoint that they're safe. The railing's not loose. It's a solid surface. It's not crumbling. So it remained.
Yeah, no, I was just curious in the future because
Sure.
it'll break down at some point,
Right.
I'd like to cross that bridge in like 5 or more years. I'm sure eventually we'll come to it, and that's a good point, and it's good to keep in the back of my mind that, when we do.
Yeah, because Tony just confirmed my suspicion, which was that now I think they require that you come out. Well, now what do you do?
Right, and it was already tricky enough trying to figure out how to configure that northeast deck with the space that existed and what we had to work with, so anyhow, that was,
Yeah, but yeah, as of right now.
okay. Okay.
Right, you'd probably have to have some concrete or something at the bottom, but yeah,
Okay.
that's a very good point. You can-
Stairs, but, if they work
Oh, not
for you,
stairs,
then-
I meant,
then,
yeah,
you know,
the ground.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Did-
no, that's very smart.
just
Lorelei.
redirect.
Yeah.
Just out of
makes a lot more
curiosity, did you consider just one deck with the 2 entrances and decide against it?
At the time, we did not, but in hindsight, now as I'm looking at it, I see how kind of a wraparound in that corner would be probably the best, and then one set of stairs coming out. But,
Or just one big one.
right,
Yeah.
one big
Or with like
porch.
off an angle or something,
Yeah.
just if you, but you're kind of past that at this point.
Yes. Those
Future
are-
thoughts.
Hence why coming to this meeting first is probably best.
Oh, as far as you had mentioned the skirting, or lack of skirting, I should say. Yeah, typically, as you heard on a previous case,
Sure.
it is desirable to have some sort of skirting. I was going to say, it's not, this particular one doesn't look too tall.
I would imagine you're pretty spot on with 18 inches. Yeah.
Point of order. Sorry, Lorelei, can you use the microphone? It's okay.
I apologize. Okay, all I did was I asked about the length of the legs from the stoop, and then my guess was that they were 15 to 18 inches.
Correct.
Yeah, that back one looks like it's a little bit shorter, but then the front, it's well, facing McKinley, I should say, it's taller, so. Would you be open to some sort of lattice, at least?
Whatever you would prefer we do, we are open to that. If you think that that needs to be there, then we'll make that happen. If not, we will gladly leave it the way that it is. Because to the previous gentleman's point, with Reynolds, he made all the points regarding, maintaining that, keeping it looking clean and not cracking, because oftentimes tenants don't take as good of care of, their things as other folks might, and so, but whatever the
I
parent decides.
personally, just from my own home, I prefer lattice just to keep out all the leaves, and then the cats, because they like to live under your porch and all
they
the
do.
various things, so.
And there's several cats in Bay City.
One or two.
Yes,
But just
whatever-
from an aesthetic standpoint, I mean, as far as, what we're charged to do here.
Sure.
I get, the kind of modern vibe of the porch, but, and it's very attractive, but typically, yeah, we do like some sort of skirting.
Okay. With this sign-in sheet, do we, our personal address or the address of the property in question?
Personal address, yes. Thank you. A note from staff as far as the lattice goes, to the commission's point, the the northeast deck portion is a little short to fit lattice work underneath, especially if the intent is to install it on the underside of the trim, so it's not just kind of plastered on the front. If it was installed on the underside underneath, the one on the northeast side on the rear of the home doesn't seem as served by the purpose of the lattice. But the deck on the south side and the west side might be better served as far as the installation. It might be much easier to install and more utilitarian to do so, but if you deemed that it was necessary.
Yeah, it looks like the south, would you say the south, sorry, again, keeping track of which doors are which. I think the south and the west, was that north, or? Yeah, are the ones that are a little taller.
I think the south deck, and that's on McKinley Street, is the highest of the three porches. That's facing McKinley, if that's helpful.
I mean, just for the sake of the motion, would you want like a lattice, or, I mean, we can, kind of pre-approve it, so to speak?
Yes, if the direction that we're headed is to put some sort of covering along the sides there, then I would imagine some composite or vinyl lattice would be our preference.
Does anyone have any other comments or questions? And if not, is there a motion?
Motion for public comment?
I'm going to get used to that.
Right.
Anyone? Seeing none? Anyone? Or, oh, we're opening. Sorry, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, yeah, I'm jumping the gun here, sorry. Seeing none, do we have a motion to close
Motion to
public?
close public comment.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. For real this time. Is there a motion on the floor?
I move that the Historic District Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness for the work described and depicted by the work review application for case HDC 25-09. The applicant has demonstrated the work will comply with the U.S. Secretary of the Interior standards for Rehabilitation 1 through 3, 6, 9, and 10, as well as Section 64-11C of the City's Historic Preservation District regulations, with the addendum that there will be skirting under the west and south side porches.
Is there support?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. You may-
Can I make one comment to you? Just
Ma'am.
Okay, this is something that we've done before. If you are concerned about, especially something as short as possibly this one batch of skirting will be, if you build a panel, if you build a frame, and then take hardware cloth, put it in the back, and you can put a wider piece of lattice or, just strips down it if you like, and it will still be able to keep any type of vermin and that type of thing out.
Okay,
And it also gives it a little additional to support. Real easy, staple gun, boom, boom, and
it's a great idea.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. And thank you again, Tony, for walking us through it. Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
Thank you, and good luck. And you can follow up with Tony for any other questions. Thank you. All right. Moving on to other business. Tony, do you have any other business?
It would be our next meeting is the 23rd, I believe, of April. I'm going to double check. Yes, the 23rd. We have one case right now. We're past the deadline, so that will be the only case. So we do have a case that night. Other than that, I'm all set.
Oh, we talked for a hot second last time about whether we could time change versus, time change based on what time of the year it was?
Seasonal time change, yes.
Yeah.
I had not circled back with Terry on that one because I think he had to check with the clerk's office. I'm going to make a note right now.
That's all right, no worries.
Seasonal time.
Anything else?
Seasonal time.
All righty. That being said, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Support.
All right, we are adjourned at 6:38.